Hello and welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman, and today I'm going to be sharing part 7 of our beginning quilting sampler class with you. If you are new to my channel and have not yet seen the introduction video as well as part 1 through 6, make sure you go back and look at those. I'll have links below in the description box so you can check those out and then come on back to part 7. Today what we are going to be working on is the Schoolhouse block, which is down here in the bottom. It's a wonderful block, especially if you make an entire quilt with your scraps and make these Schoolhouse blocks. They're a lot of fun. Let's see how this is made. The first thing you're going to want to do is download and print the PDF. This is the PDF of instructions. It's 3 pages. And then I've also attached here the PDF of the templates. Make sure when you print off the PDF of templates that you print this at 100%. Most printers default to fit to page. And if that happens, then these templates will not be the right size and your block will not go together well. So make sure you print that at 100%. And then once you print it, make a couple of photocopies, because I would recommend taking colored pencils and coloring in the Schoolhouse with your fabrics and just see how you'd like to arrange it. I went ahead and did that on one of these, and these represent the fabrics that I'm using for my quilt block today. So these are the fabrics that I'm using, and I've got the fabric for the background. I've got a dark beige. This is going to be the chimney, and these colors here will be the Schoolhouse itself. So these are the fabrics that I'm using. They do not match this sample quilt. They're my own colors. So what I do every time I'm making a sample block is I just simply write in the fabric colors that I'm using, and that way I don't get confused as I'm going through each step of the instructions. And I would recommend that you do that yourself. Figure out which colors you're using and then identify where they are here, and then make sure that you substitute those colors as you are working through the instructions. So have fun coloring, and I recommend printing off a couple of them so that if you don't like one rendering that you've colored, maybe you have another rendering that you can use. And again, I put all of my instructions and templates in plastic sleeves in a notebook, and these are the blocks that I have ready that we've already done. So I'll set that aside. I just recommend that you all do that. It keeps everything together nicely. So now we're going to see what we have to cut for from our fabric to create this. Now you are going to need some template plastic, and you're going to want to trace a few of these templates. Let me show you. So these are all templates. There's 5 of them that you're going to trace onto template plastic. You will trace on the dotted lines. Remember, we've got to include that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So trace on the dotted lines, and then there are certain size rectangles that you're going to place these on the back side of, on the wrong side of the fabric, and trace them onto those particular rectangles in whatever size and color needed here. And then you're going to cut them out. And in most cases, I think we just need one of these, we need one of each of these, and I guess we're just needing one of all of these. So we're going to go ahead and get those traced on template plastic. I'm going to use my plastic template marker and my plastic template film. I have given you a link on the PDF where you can purchase that film. So just follow that link in the PDF online. It will take you out to Hobby Lobby, but you can get it at your favorite quilt shop, online at, there's many different places where you can purchase that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my template marker and film and get these traced right away. The first thing we're going to want to do is get our fabrics cut out, and I have done that. I've cut with the fabric strips from leftover remnants of each of the pieces from previous projects or blocks that we've worked on. And so I have what I need. This is what I'm going to need for the top row, the chimneys and the sky. This is what I'm going to need for the second row, which is the top of my roof, and some of the other, whoops, not all of that is needed. This is needed there. That's for the second row. And the third row is this entire, we're going to put it together in 2 sections. And that's the building itself, and I'll be using these pieces. So what you'll want to do is simply follow along. Let me grab my pencil here. Follow along and simply identify which fabrics you're using for which element in this block. Write that in and then cut out those rectangles. It lets you know how many rectangles of which color, and go through and cut those out and have those available and ready. Then we're going to want to cut out our template. So let me move this aside, bring this over here. I like to use a plastic template marking pencil. It's more of a waxy lead to it, and this is very, very old. I've had it for over 20 years. I got it for $1. I don't know where I got it a long time ago, but I love it because when you write on the plastic template, it doesn't come off all over your skin or all over your fabric. Sometimes pens or pencils can do that, markers, they can do that, but this writes beautifully on the template. So I have traced each of these elements here. Let me lay them where they need to go for you. There is J, there's J, there's G, there's I. So we have D, G, H, I, J. These are the 5 elements that I've traced, and I've traced it on the dotted line, so we have our seam allowance. That's very important. So these have all been traced. Grab your plastic film and just trace them. I used a ruler and my marker, and I butted everything up closely on my template plastic so that I'm being efficient with that plastic. So these are all ready to go. I'll need those. Let me move this aside now. And at this point, we are going to take the elements that we need from over here and trace onto the wrong side of these pieces, these templates here. So let's see how that's done. So in front of me here, I have placed my templates on the wrong side of the appropriate colored fabric. My roof for H is this dark beige, and the front of my roof for J is this right here, this dark beige. So those are placed on there. My sky, if you will, is that light background fabric, and I have my G and my D placed on the back of each of those. And then this I is that section of the roof that kind of goes at a slant there, and this is the template I. And you'll notice how it goes on there. And then I can simply trace on here. Let me grab a marker, a pen. Let's see how this will work. For this I, all I have to really do, hopefully you can see that. That's all I really had to trace, because all of the edges of that fabric from this rectangle finish it out. So I can just simply cut, and you can use a rotary cutter if you want, but I can simply cut here and cut there. And there is my I. It's all ready to go. All right, so that's I. Now I'm going to do the same with D, G, G, and A, or J and H, excuse me. I'm just simply going to trace around them, cut them out, and I'll have all of my pieces ready to go. And as you can see here, I have everything cut. There is H, here's G and D, and these are the leftover pieces that I don't need. Here is J right there, and here is I. So all of my elements have been cut, and they are ready to go to be placed into my block. What you'll notice when I design blocks in my EQ8 software, it often will eliminate excess fabric in the seam allowances. It kind of rounds things out, eliminates some excess seam allowance, and it's wonderful. It just helps to put the block together so much easier. So you'll notice that on each of these elements. So these are ready to go. Now we are going to line it up with our other pieces that we've cut out. These are all rectangles in various colors. We're going to line them up and create sections for the bottom row of the schoolhouse, and then we're going to create the rows. Really, really simple to put this together. We've finished steps 1A through E with all the templates and got them all cut out, so those pieces are ready to go. Now we're going to start working on this bottom section. here, and basically what we're going to do is create a couple of different sections and then put them together into a row. The first section is going to be these three little pieces here. They're going to be sewn together. Mine are medium pinks and light pinks. Yours might be the blue and the light pink. Whatever fabrics you're using, that's what you're going to sew this together first. Then we're going to sew, in my case, I'm going to use dark pinks that I'm going to sew to the top of that. So that's the next one there. You'll see that these are sewn together and then they'll go on top and bottom. Then you're going to sew these 5 together. In my case, they're medium pink and light pink. Yours might be blue and light pink. Whatever colors you're using, just make sure you indicate that. Those will get sewn together. Then we're going to sew a 5.5 by 1.5 inch rectangle to the top and bottom of that. And once these seam allowances are taken in, this 5.5 inch section will fit that beautifully. So that section will be put together, this section will be put together, then the 2 of them are going to be pieced together with this last 5.5 inch. In my case, it's a medium pink. So let me go ahead and get those sewn. I'll show you step by step how that's being done. Here is this section with the 3 bars, if you will. So this is the building, and that represents the door or the window. And here are the building pieces, and these represent the windows. And now they will fit with these pieces. So I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew this top and bottom, and I'm going to sew this top and bottom. And once those are sewn and pressed, and I did press everything to the dark. So I pressed everything away to the dark. Once I do that, then I'm going to add this section in between, and then I will have the bottom row of the schoolhouse building done. As you follow on down step number 2, we are working through steps A through E, and basically I've sewn these 3 bars together, put these the top and the bottom on it. I sewed these 5 bars together and put the top and the bottom on it. Now we have the 5.5 inch center that will attach these 2 to create the entire row. This should square up to 5.5 inches square. This should square up to 3.5 by 5.5 inches. So make sure that they square up to those measurements, and then we're going to add this 1.5 by 5.5 inch piece to it. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. The bottom row of the schoolhouse is put together. It has been squared up to 5.5 inches tall and 9.5 inches wide. That row is ready. That's row 3. Now let's actually head up to the top of the block, and that's row 1. These are the chimneys, and this is the sky. And these were the leftover 2 by 2.5 inch squares that we had, and we'll use the other 2. We already used the other 2 actually when we cut out our templates. But we're going to simply sew this row together like that. Let me go ahead and lay all of these out, and all of the pieces. So this is row 2, this is row 1, the top row. This represents the chimneys and the sky. Here are sky pieces. This is my roof, and that's part of the roof as well. So you're simply going to sew these pieces together. We'll flip this on top of that, sew 1/4 inch seam allowance, press it open, then sew this unit on top of that, sew 1/4 inch seam allowance, press it to the dark, and continue doing that across this row. And then of course the same up here with the sky and the chimneys. So this to this one, this unit then to the center, that unit to this one, and then this last piece. Very simple to put together. Just keep it all in line and ready to go, and you've got your block put together. We're going to go ahead then, and I'm going to piece these. I'll bring them back to the tabletop. Look at this. I'm so excited. It's just adorable. So I have the 3 rows put together. Now I'm just going to sew the rows together, and I'll have my block. The PDF of instructions lets you know what each of these should be squared up to. I believe the top row needs to be squared up to, let's see here, 2.5 by 9.5. This row also 2.5 by 9.5, and this 5.5 by 9.5. And so I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, and I'll bring it back to the tabletop. The schoolhouse block is finished. I've pressed these top 2 rows toward the top and squared it up to 9.5 inches. I have a 9.5 inch OmniGrid ruler, which I can use to square up these blocks, but you don't need that. You can simply use a long ruler and your mat and just square it up to 9.5 inches. I love this block. Again, it is a great block for using up your scraps. Every Schoolhouse block could be completely different. What a great way to use your scraps. So next time, the next class that we're going to be having in part 8, we'll be learning the Ohio Star block. So that's coming up soon. That'll be a lot of fun. Don't forget to put your templates in a plastic bag and keep that with your PDF and put that in your notebook. And I'm hoping you're enjoying this class as much as I am. I love teaching. I love teaching anything quilting. As you might be aware, there's usually more than one way to teach or to make a particular block, but I'm just giving you the simplest way that I can think of to accomplish each of these blocks to help you learn the quilting process. Next time we're going to be learning these quarter square triangles. That's a technique we'll be learning. We have some Dresdens coming up in the sunshine block. We have some applique, which we'll be doing on our butterfly block. We're going to be learning some Hawaiian quilting applique in the next one, and then we're going to learn some stained glass quilting as well. So we've got a lot of fun things coming up. And then when we finish this quilt off, we're going to be learning how to create these interesting cornerstone sashing that we have accomplished in this sampler quilt. Thanks so much for joining me for this part 7 of our beginning quilting class. I hope you're enjoying it. Please, if you like the content that I'm providing, won't you subscribe and like and leave a comment? All of that really does help my channel to grow and get to other quilters just like yourself. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Until then, happy quilting.